Hello everybody, Matt Stevens here for another We Love Cycling podcast. And as we have the UCI World Gravel Championships coming up soon, I thought I'd speak to our very own Juliet Elliott, who is a gravel expert, quite simply, about all things gravel. The event she's done, tips for anybody that wants to get into it. You're going to enjoy this one. Juliet, lovely to have you on the We Love Cycling podcast again to talk about gravel.
Yay, my main passion, I suppose. Yeah, that's what we're here to talk about with the Gravel World Champs coming up.
So, I think the best place to start is, Juliet, you've been riding bikes for a very, very long time. You've been riding all sorts of different bikes for a very, very long time. When did you first become aware of gravel, and when did you first swing your leg over a gravel bike?
You know what, I'm not totally sure, although I am obviously going to try and remember. Thinking back, it's probably longer ago than I first realised when I was trying to work that out. So what it was I used to race fixed gear crits. I used to race red hook crit, which is just the most fun ever.
Yes.
Fixed gear circuit races, obviously, in city centres around the world. And that suddenly finished. And I was left a bit bereft, really. I'm like, well, what now? What's going to give me the same kind of like serious racing but fun social side? And I know gravel's got a bit more serious now, but back when it started for me, it was a bit more like red hook crit, a bit more renegade, a bit less organised, a bit less serious, and maybe there weren't as many pros dipping their toe into it and stuff. So it's interesting because it kind of followed the same trajectory as fixed gear crit racing, which started as sort of a bit amateurish, and then all the pros started doing that. It's the same thing with gravel. So maybe I'm an early adopter of all these things the pros are going to flock to.
So you became aware of it? I mean, like you said, the red hook stuff was ridiculously dynamic, absolutely crazy. That's one side of the sport, Julia, that I must admit I've never dipped my toe into. Did a little bit fixie riding in Berlin once, but never done a red hook crit. I'm kind of happy that I haven't, but I think that just shows your appetite for doing kind of different things within our sport. But so, what was your first gravel event, and what was that experience like? Or the gravel event, what was that like?
What was it? It might have been, what's that one in Wales? Is it Gritfest? I think the first gravel race I did was Gritfest, which is a 2-day event.
Right.
So, yeah, that would have been a few years back now. I probably should have done a bit more research before this call. You didn't send me any questions.
I dropped that question right on your toes. Sorry about that, Julia.
That's okay. I think it might have been Gritfest, and it was really fun. I enjoyed that one. And since then, I've gone on to do a few more in different countries and try all sorts of different things. So there's so many different kinds of gravel races, from the super serious to the super ridiculous or fun or amateurish. So it's been fun trying all the different kinds and seeing which ones I like best.
And I think I've done one official gravel event, the Stone Circle, which we both did actually, didn't we?
Good.
How good was that? I know this isn't an ad for that, but what a great event that was, and that really has whet my appetite. And the thing I do like about that event and about other similar events is the fact that there is something for everybody. You can really race hard at the front if you want to get the prestige of winning, borderline elite level, or you can just go and experience it for fun. So they're like a mass participation event with a race at the very sharp end. That's pretty fair to say, isn't it? So you can take it as easy or as hard as you want, and there's a wonderful vibe at the start and finish as well.
Yeah, I think that's right, and that's definitely what appeals to me. You can ride it how you want and get a bunch of friends together. You'll all end up in the same place at the end and have a beer. So it's just a super fun way of doing it. I mean, I've done road racing, I've done all sorts of different kinds of races, and at the end of a road race, everyone just goes home. You know, it's not like that in a gravel race. Everyone sticks around, you have a beer, it's fun, and I like that. So you can race as hard as you want, but at the end of the day, you're all just hanging out together, and it's really nice.
Yeah, there's a real spirit. There's there's obviously a bit of competitiveness, but it's more like everybody's in it together, regardless of your ability or level of experience or your background. You're very welcome. I do like that. That does remind me a little bit of my little foray into mountain biking back in the 90s, when there's a similar attitude there at mountain biking events as well.
Yeah, definitely. It is like serious racing, obviously, at the pointy end of things, but everyone's in it together, and I think that's definitely a gravel race thing.
Now, I've seen, because obviously we follow each other's exploits a little bit, and you have been to some very far-flung places, and you've covered them on We Love Cycling. But just give us a flavour of for somebody who might not have seen what you've done. Just give us a flavour over the last couple of years of some of the amazing places that you've ridden gravel on.
Well, you know what? That's just reminded me of what the first gravel event was that I did. I think it was Tuscany Trail. Do you know that one?
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of it, but I've never done it.
Tuscany Trail is, it's not a race, but it's an event that follows a route through Tuscany, funnily enough. And obviously people want to do it as quickly as they can on one side of things. And at the other end, there are people who are just camping out each night and having it as a bit of a holiday. So that was the first one that I actually did. And I did that with my friend who used to work at ASOS. She was like, come join me, because then I can get a kind of paid holiday if we do this together. So I'm like, okay, fine, anything to help you out as a friend. And we went, and it was absolutely fantastic. We rode so hard all day, but we stopped for ice creams, and we had a nice meal at the end and booked some accommodation, and we managed to cover about 500 kilometres in 3 days, I think.
Wow.
And it was just brilliant. So yeah, Tuscany, that's one of the best places, and probably the first gravel event I did. Since then, I've ridden gravel in Chile. So I took part in a bikepacking event called Across Andes last year. I've ridden in Rwanda. I did Race Around Rwanda, which was fabulous. I'm going back there in February. And then other highlights. Gosh, I mean, there's so many. I had a really nice time riding up in Scotland recently, and yeah, there's still a lot of places that I want to visit, but I'm working my way through my bucket list.
I mean, just from seeing you on screen there, and you obviously got a boundless enthusiasm for cycling in general, but it clearly has really resonated with you, isn't it? This isn't just something you do because it's your job. You actually clearly fully embrace it, because there's quite a lot of sacrifice. You spend a lot of time away from home, and to do some of the events that you've done, especially the multi-day ones, you do have to have, a reasonable level of fitness and commitment too. So you clearly are, it's fair to say, living to a degree a bit of a gravel lifestyle at the moment.
Yeah, it is quite sort of time-consuming and all-consuming. I am a bit of a bore, to be honest. Like, my partner rides a bike.
No, you're not.
But to the non-cyclist, obviously I've got my cycling buddies. We'll be standing around at the bar talking about tyre pressures and, tubeless inserts and stuff. And my partner, he rides a bike, but he's not like me about it. He's just like, oh, God, yawn. Can you talk about something else? So yeah, it is just my entire life, really. So I'm really lucky that I get to spend so much time doing it. It's definitely an obsession. It's kind of all I think about.
And you touched on a few moments ago, you've given us an illustration of some of the different places you've been to, but can you just break down the sort of events then? So there's, for us, just so people can get a sense of what options there are. Sure. In relation to the next step. What sort of events are there, commitment levels, places to go, and stuff that you might need to take with you from a multi-day event. That's a lot of questions in one. Okay,
well, when I forget halfway through what I'm talking about, you can remind me. Okay, so there seem to be more gravel sportives available now. So where I live down in Devon, you could enter Haldon Heroic, or there's Devon Grit, which is another good one. And those are, well, it's just like a road sportive. You will sign on at the start, ride off at your own pace. There are checkpoints with food or whatever, and that's a chance for you to do it as fast as you want, or just potter about with your mates. So that might be a good place for some people to start. Then there's obviously the gravel races, and there's billions of different kinds of gravel races, so I'll just quickly touch on that. One format I really like is the kind of timed stages. So Grinduro is a fun one, and Gritfest is the same. And basically you all set off together, but then there are timed segments, and it's only your time during those bits that count towards where you finish. So what you can do is ride around with your friends at whatever pace, social pace, having fun, and then you hit the timed stage. Whoosh, off you go, if you can, and try and set yourself a good time. And then at the end you regroup and you can carry on just hanging out with your friends. So that's possibly one of my favourite formats, and there's a few of those around. Then you've got your kind of serious gravel racing, which I suppose I've slightly gone off. Which is, you know, like the UCI stuff. So I did try a UCI race, and I think they're okay, but it's not necessarily what I want to do right now. They can be pretty serious. There's a place at the World Champs up for grabs. But what's nice about those events is it's done in age groups. So I think it's done in 5-year splits, and you can qualify for the World Championships just against people of a similar age to you. So that's quite motivating and makes it seem a bit sort of more fair. So yeah, I can't remember what the percentage is, top 25% or something like that goes to the World Champs. So there's that. And then there's the bikepacking adventure-y stuff, and I suppose that's really what I quite like doing. So it'll be multi-day, you're self-supported, and aside from having a lovely time riding off-road, which is one of my favourite things, what I really enjoy is the mental game, the logistics. So it's kind of like chess and bike riding, or I don't know, you have to figure out, where am I going to be able to get food? Have I got enough now to get there? Will I make it to this place to sleep? If I carry on now, am I going to end up on the top of a mountain where it's too cold to sleep? So there's all these things, so it keeps your mind kind of ticking over, and you're cycling along, enjoying the ride, but also, you know, there's all these things you've got to work out, and that's so that's a whole nother kind of thing. And you have more than one version of that. You've got the competitive ones where you want to try and finish in a certain time, and then you've got a kind of Audax version, which is something I'm doing at the end of this year in the Canaries. So there you go, very long answer, and I don't think I even covered everything.
I think you did actually quite well. You covered most bases there. Now, what's the longest event you've done? You talk about the Audax ones. You've been down in South America. What is the longest amount of time, or in terms of days, that you've spent graveling and essentially adventure biking, sort of bike packing?
Not super long, because I have a family, so I'm kind of limited in how long I can go away for. But you know, that's my choice. I don't want to go away for too long. Probably only a couple of weeks, and I felt guilty enough about that one. So I have to be quite picky about the long events. Do you know the Silk Road mountain?
Yes, I've heard that, yeah.
I really want to do that. That's just finished. And I was looking at, I just get obsessed with things. So I've been looking at that. It's not really gravel, it's people ride mountain bikes, but there are gravel sections. That one, it takes place in August, so it's school holidays, and it'll be a 2-week trip. So I'm like, kind of want to do it, but it's, yeah, so... it's tricky trying to balance out having enough time away and choosing my events and not upsetting everyone that's left behind.
It's such a hard balance in relation to what we do, because we both within cycling and occupy different parts of cycling, but it is one of those sports, just because of its very nature. It's an endurance sport, and quite often there's a multi-day element to it. The Grand Tours, the events you're just talking about. So striking a balance is massively important, but also it can be enormously rewarding. And I find, although I do spend a fair bit of time away, when I'm back home, I really enjoy just time at home even more than normal, if that's fair to say. Do you find that? Yeah, you just value the time more, don't you?
Exactly. Yeah, it's super nice to be home.
Now, moving on to, you did mention the UCI World Championships, and this piece is going to augment Skoda's involvement in that. So, are you going to be doing the World Championships? Have you qualified? What is going to be your
Well, I didn't try and qualify this year. So last year I went up to Scotland and I raced the Gralloch, And
Yes.
honestly, the reason I didn't like it is just because it doesn't play to my strengths. So, like I'm better at descending. I like technical stuff. It's not very technical. It's a road race off road, and I suck at climbing. So I just didn't enjoy it, and I think I was one spot off qualifying. So if I'd have felt the fire, and I could have gone back and tried another round, but I was just like, nah, cycling for me is fun. If it's not fun, I don't want to do it, and I didn't enjoy it. So, no, not for me. But I have been following various friends and their efforts at qualifying, which has been so fun to watch. People travelling around and just about managing to get a qualifying place right before the World Championships. So I'll be watching, and I'll be excited to see how they all get on.
It should be good. No, I was fortunate enough to commentate on the World Championships last year, just on the men's when Matej Mohoric won, and that was an absolutely brutal course with a lot of climbing. So, and the level, when you look at the sort of riders that are winning the World Championships, especially over the last couple of years, winning their Europeans and the Nationals, they tend to be riders with a road background or current, top level pros like Kasia, for example, our very own Kasia, who's the current world champion. And that's just an indication of firstly how popular it is, but also the level at the very sharp end is elite level, isn't it? It's not something that you can treat half-heartedly. I mean, you can go and gravel and ride these events, but the competitive side of it is higher than it's ever been. It's just getting harder and harder.
Yeah, so it's exciting to watch what happens next, really. Will they be forming bigger and better funded gravel teams, more tactics coming into it and stuff like that? We'll see.
So just to rewind a little bit, when you first got into gravel and when you think about the events that you're doing and my little forays I've been out into with a friend of mine, Phoebe Snedden, we've been out in the Peak District riding together, and we did a bit of an overnighter, which was a lot of fun. But the one thing I'm always worried about, because I'm not particularly mechanically minded, is if my chain snaps, if something happens to my bike. But from what I've seen, you're pretty good at that. The mechanic, I know you've done quite a few videos giving people a bit of a heads up on or some advice on what to do. But my question is, have you ever been in a situation out on your gravel bike at an event or just out riding where you've had a catastrophic failure in your bike, but you've managed to MacGyver it back together again when you've been really proud of yourself? Can you give us an example of one of those if you've got any? Well,
it's not super exciting, but I do remember using a piece of a can of Coke as a tyre boot. Have you ever done that? It works.
I've used a piece of a can of Coke because my saddle was slipping once, my seat pin, but like not as like a shim, but not as a tyre boot. So what did you do there? Just explain.
Well, I had a big hole in the tyre, and basically you have to get the tyre off, which in itself is a nightmare with tubeless, isn't it? Because they're so tight.
Yeah.
But I did manage to stick that in there. Actually, I don't think there was a tubeless tyre. But yeah, you put it inside the tyre to cover the hole and stop your tube rubbing on the ground and getting a hole in it. So yeah, I've done that before. That was actually, where was that? Riding in Brittany, I think. But I haven't had one of those. Oh, I shouldn't say it. See, I'm setting myself up for...
No, I'm touching my desk, which is made of wood. I'm touching my head, which is a bit wooden. So you should be fine. But it is an important one, isn't it? Because you are self-sufficient when you're out on these gravel rides. So can you just give people a little bit... Say somebody is watching this, or they've always been a little bit intrigued. They've got themselves a bike. What should they take on them? Take with them. And also, what should they know in terms of just the basics, just to get themselves out of trouble? Because more often than not, you can be quite remote, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. Well, what I pack kind of depends on where I'm going. Like if I'm doing a bike packing race, I will have loads of different things. Like a spare mech hanger, even a spare seat post clamp, some zip ties. I normally take like gaffer tape around my water bottle, so you can always peel off a bit of that. That's come in handy before, actually. When I was, where was I? I was in Slovenia, and my Garmin wouldn't stay on. and you can't navigate without the bike computer.
No.
So I had to get some of the gaffer tape off my water bottle and just tape it on my handlebars. So that worked. But if I was just doing a normal gravel ride, I would take a tubeless repair kit. I take like a preloaded thing with it's got a tip on each end, a dyno plug or whatever.
I know what you mean. Yeah, they're really good. You just pop them in, don't you?
It's super duper easy. So I would take a tubeless repair kit. That's the easiest kind to use, one that's already set up, and make sure you know how to use it. It is pretty self-explanatory. And then the other tip would be to have the tubeless repair kit somewhere that you can access it, because you want to kind of get that plug in before you lose all the air in your tyre and potentially it's unseated or whatever. So we always keep that really handy. Then I will take a small multi-tool, because if you do have to take your wheel off to put a tube in, God forbid, which is a messy business if you're tubeless, then you need the tool to get your wheel off, because, I mean, it's normally a tool needed for that. Then I normally take one proper normal tube, and then I take one of those little new, what are they called? Those new tubes that everyone's got that are really small and thin and lightweight.
Oh yeah, I've got one of those. I didn't know what it was. It's almost like it's like a gossamer almost.
Or something? Yeah.
I don't know, but I do. It's the one I've got is bright orange for some reason.
I know those. Yeah, Tubolito, that is.
Right. Okay.
They're really expensive, but they're really small and lightweight. So if I'm racing, I'll take a proper tube, and then I'll take one of them. So I've got two tubes in case I need to put one in. Tyre irons, tyre levers, and then some way of inflating things. So I always take a hand pump just in case my other means of pumping up my tyre goes wrong. My latest thing is I've got an electric mini pump, which is really, really good.
All right.
They're genuinely good. I was super sceptical, but so I've got an electric mini pump that's about a little bit bigger than a matchbox, and I take that, but I also take a backup pump. So yeah, basically tubeless repair, tubes, levers, tool. What did I forget? Tubes.
Good stuff. And what about the all important fueling then? Because again, a big day out or a multi-day, what would you classically take with you that can be packed away pretty easily? Well,
when I'm at home, I do have a stash of energy bars, which I grab and go. It just makes life a bit easier. I would love to be that person that makes their own rice bars and all that jazz, but no. So I just grab some energy bars, a gel, a banana, that sort of thing. But when I'm out doing gravel multi-day rides and stuff like that, well, you have to eat what you can find. So I've become pretty good at seeking out easily digestible calories. So there are certain things that I would always get if I was having to fuel myself on the go from petrol stations or shops. So I normally get croissants because they squash down really, really flat. So you can get loads of croissants squashed into your bikepacking bags. Croissants, drinking yogurt, because you get hydration, protein, carbs. That's a really good one. Always bananas. And then sometimes I'll get ready salted crisps just for some salts, and again I'll squash those down and shove it all in my bar bag. I'm good to go. I'm trying to not eat sweets, like just handfuls and handfuls of sweets, because it's so bad for your teeth. But yeah, sometimes you do fall back on that if you're racing.
Yeah, that's one of my favourite things. But no, I do like your. I was out the other week doing a long ride in the Dolomites, and I didn't take a croissant, but I got a muffin from the breakfast bar, and just squashed it, and it was like, it ended up like a little pancake, but it was really dense, but really really lovely, and I had that in my back pocket. Perfect. So that was quite good. Sometimes just finding stuff on the breakfast bar for free and taking that in your back pocket is always. But I was in a hotel at that point. But so before we wrap things up, Juliet, I'm going to ask you, what is the hardest gravel event you've ever done? And because I know you're not like so keen on the racing side of it, but sometimes just from a pure endurance thing, the distance that you got to travel, you don't need to be racing at high speed to suffer. Yeah. So what's the hardest, most the toughest event that you've done, and you've thought, whew, that really did take it out of me?
Well, I raced Migration Gravel Race in Kenya, and that's a scramble stage race. But it's the kind of race that I like because it's long. So each day you race all day, and then you will arrive at a camp and they will feed you, you sleep in a tent, and you race again the next day. So that was 4 days back to back, really, really hard racing. And I pushed myself as hard as I was able. So that was pretty brutal. But I came away with a 4th, so I was quite happy. Other than that, I think the hardest was race around Rwanda, because some of the climbs they're just endless, and it's quite rough, it's very hot, and I didn't finish that race. So I'm going back in February to have another crack, because I got to, I think 700, I got to kilometre 730 out of 1,000.
Wow. Oh my God.
Gutted. So now I've got to go back and finish it off.
So, no, well, all the best with that, because of course next year in Rwanda, there's the World Road Championships as well in Rwanda as well.
Yeah,
right. So it's going to be a big. But I have watched. I've actually spoken to somebody about that event in Rwanda. It seems amazing. It's getting increasingly more popular every year, isn't it? The migration race. It looks amazing.
Oh, it is. It's incredible. Yeah, it's such a cool place to go.
Now, coming up to the end of our little chat, if you can sell gravel to somebody watching this, why should somebody get into gravel? Go.
Okay, so this is all obviously my own opinion, but I think
of course.
I'd say gravel is less serious than road in its sort of outlook. So it's a bit more accessible, there's more diversity in gravel, and I think it can be as difficult or as relaxed as you want it to be. It can be anything you want. That's what I like about gravel. It can be anything. You can ride in whatever clothes you want. You can be suited and booted in your finest, or just wear a pair of cut-offs. You can ride your bike more places than you can, on your road bike. You can link together fun bits. It opens up your local area to you in a new way. I kind of got bored of some of the road rides, and then I got a gravel bike, and I'm like, oh, so I've never been to any of these places in my neighbourhood, which is nice. And yeah, I suppose that about covers it. Mainly it's just fun. So yeah, everyone should get one. I am such a gravel pusher. All of my mates, I know. Get one.
But you're right though, Juliet. I've got I'm lucky enough to have a gravel bike, and I live at the foot of the Peak District, and I thought I knew the roads really well, and I didn't even realise. So things gravel has always been there. We just didn't realise. Like mountain biking, we've done that, different sorts of trails through the forest or whatever. But gravel, we've kind of left alone, and it's not as if it's just been made. It's just been discovered. So I'm discovering new parts of where I live, and it's just. I love all aspects of cycling, but gravel for me, as you just quite rightly said, has opened it up again, and I feel like I'm exploring again, which is one of the most fundamentally wonderful things about riding a bike in the first place is exploring, and also you're doing it without any traffic, which is even better, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's nice. It's always nice to be right out there in the trees and the forests, and yeah.
It certainly is. Well, Juliet, it's been an absolute pleasure. We'll wrap things up now. Good luck in your next few. What is your very, very next event then? Before we go.
My next trip is to La Palma to do a 4-day gravel cycling thing that I've been invited on, and then I'm going to Nepal. I'm going to ride Annapurna Circuit on my gravel bike. So I can't wait.
You have to be one of the most well-travelled gravellers in the world. Well, we'll have to. We should definitely have a chat after you've been back to Nepal, because I'm sure people will want to hear about all that. I certainly would. But Juliet, for now, I'll leave you to the rest of your day. You've been an absolute pleasure. Catch up with you soon. Take care.
Cheers, Matt. See you later. Bye.
Cheers.